resistance line there from November. That was around, call it the 2.5 pence level. Bit of jiggery pokery either side of the 50-day moving average at 2.9 pence. V-shaped bull flag, rather, which looks very encouraging and can be a decent platform in such situations for a move to the upside. Looking for 5 pence, which is not only the top of the post-November triangle, but also the area of the 200-day moving average just below it, and hopefully we'll see that by the end of next month. Stop loss just below the 2.5 pence area, so that looks pretty well set up. The other thing backing the recovery, apart from the fundamentals, which seem to have improved remarkably over the last few weeks, is that bullish divergence line. So we had the higher RSI low versus a lower share price for the beginning of February, and that is a positive as well and can provide decent momentum in the short term. Onto a stock which had a stonking RNS today, at least in my mind. We had the combination of a company going debt-free and also the promise of a potential dividend there. Caspian, I suppose it's not exactly the most traded stock, but the overall pattern here looks as though we're in a rising trend channel from 1 year trend channel, with the top of the channel heading for 9 pence, maybe on a 2 to 3 month time frame, while we remain above the floor of the channel, currently around 3.75 pence. I suppose you could risk down to the 200-day moving average at 3.4 pence. The big plus point here really is that the shares have managed to remain above the 200-day line since July, with multiple support points coming in there, so that is quite encouraging. In terms of the sort of near-term trigger, probably a break of 5 pence would do the trick, but it does look as though with these multiple support points above the 200-day line, the shares are in play in a bullish way. On to Catanei, which has had its moments over the past year or so. What's interesting here, I suppose, is the way that we've got a bullish divergence line there from back in November, so that is in play supporting the stock, even though we've gone to new lows to start February just below 0.4 pence. What we'd like to see now probably is at least an end-of-day close above the 0.5 pence level. If you're fussy, the 50-day line at 0.55, and that would then give the shares another chance for a quick flip up to 0.9 pence. They tend to have a bit of a zigzag in the 0.5 to 0.9 pence area, as they've done over recent months. So looking for one of the periodic spikes in the stock over the near term. If you are, again, looking at the detail, previous support around the 0.52 pence level, so a bear trap would be in force if we had an end-of-day close above that, hence the 0.55 plus trigger on Catanei. On to a stock which has been on the back foot for quite some time, but looks like Sharad Gold might finally have its months in the sun maybe. Here we've broken a line of resistance from April at 19.25 pence. Initial target here up to 24 pence, which is obviously post-August resistance, but the sort of sizzle in this particular chart is that we've bounced off this falling RSI support line, and that looks as though that has delivered some momentum for the shares. Moving along to a stock which is in a similar field, Eurasia Mining. Here we've had the the fourth bounce off the 20 pence area in the recent past, so post-September. Still quite frustrating that the shares haven't managed to make the big break through 30 pence, which would really open things up quite nicely. Currently looking for a break of, say, 25 pence and that September resistance line to give us 30 pence plus over the next month or two. But I suppose the simple trade here is just to be a range trader, buying near 20 pence and looking for a push towards 30 pence on Eurasia. On to a stock which, I suppose one of the more famous chartists on Twitter, Noel Borg, has covered yesterday. I was feeling a bit left out that he's covered Genflow Biosciences before I have, but we've got this classic flag in place here. So the vertical move from the initial 8 pence IPO price. Support since then has come in at 12, which is a very nice Fibonacci type of situation to do. And all we're looking for now really is an end-of-day close through 13 pence to possibly give us a target up towards the upper teens over the next month to 6 weeks. So maybe one to watch on any end-of-day close through 13 pence on Genflow. Moving along to a stock which has been pretty frustrating over the recent past. I know it has its fans, and here we've got another one of those potential turnaround situations, a bit like Sharad that I mentioned a minute or two or so. We've got a bullish, a sort of slowly bullish divergence line, uptrend line in the RSI window, right at the bottom of this falling wedge, which has been in place since July. So all we're looking for here really is an end-of-day close through 3.3, 3.4, the 50-day moving average at 3.4, and that could then give us at least a retest of 4 pence, which compared to current levels would be something of a party, and hopefully that will resolve itself by the end of next month at the latest. Very strong update from Kazera today. Very impressive stuff from this company. We already had the trend line break there from April and the 50-day moving average break at 1.1 pence. The overall view here, even though this is a rather illiquid situation, is that above the 1.1 pence area, we're looking for 2.5, maybe on a 2 to 3 month time frame. That's at the top of the rising 2021 trend channel. So as long as we remain above 1.1, looking for a pretty decent upside, and obviously a retest of last April's peak through 2.2 pence. Very strong update again from a lot of strong updates today actually from Okio. Here its dealings with the FDA seem impressive. We had a gap, unfilled gap to the upside a few sessions ago last week, and that's normally a strong signal, especially when you break the gap up day. So that level 5.3. So above that, we're looking for the shares to at least fill the gap up to 6.5, and obviously retest December resistance on the better news, maybe over the next 2 to 4 weeks. Higher low there versus September is also encouraging, and that should hopefully mean that we get the upside there over the near term. On to Eulex, which seems determined to pinball between 0.2 and 0.25 pence, which is rather strange state of affairs given how many people are willing it higher. Still got that bullish divergence line, uptrend line in the RSI window, so that we're sort of bouncing off that. That does suggest that we will eventually, as obviously Eulex fans are expecting, break that 0.26 peak that we've had and head up to 0.45, although I have to admit that the shares have been a rather difficult contender in the post-May period, basically between 0.15 and 0.25, so it is clearly a range trade, and there might be some who just want to see that range broken before they step up to the plate. Couple of stocks to go now. First one is Pantheon, which is looks like it's doing what Advanced Energy was supposed to be doing, but we won't talk about that. Here we've had a bull flag breakout after the gap higher, which is possibly one of the most strong setups you can have, and that flag formation, a bit like the one we saw at Genflow, very much enforced now with the break above the recent high, the initial February resistance of 133. Above that, we're looking for as high as £1.80 over the next 1 to 2 months, maybe even sooner. Upside valid at least while we hold above the floor of the flag there at £1.15, but ideally there's no real sustained price action back below the 133 area ahead of a move to the upside. Next and finally, we have Quantum Blockchain, which has been a pet favorite of mine for some reason. Just mesmerized by the possibilities of the technology. But in the meantime, the shares have been in this triangle from back in September, looking for that triangle to be broken around 2.8 pence. So an end-of-day close above that, and the 50-day moving average at 2 3/4 could finally get the shares up to the nominated near-term target at 4.7 pence, which is the top of that May rising trend channel. Time frame on that may be as soon as the end of next month, but maybe you might have to give it a bit longer. But the setup here looks to be pretty solid. That's it for me today. More up